Welcome back, everybody. It is 12 noon here where I'm at. This is Neogentrix and Thoughts If It Were You, food for thought. Now, I know last time I covered critical thinking, and I will probably go a little more into that at a later date, but I'm going to go ahead and take a sidestep here. I'm going to cover something that I feel is a little important. Rather, someone asked me to cover it in light detail. So I'm going to cover writing skills. I probably will cover some of the more basic things such as grammar, spelling, punctuation, and whatnot, but I'll cover that also if requested. Like I said before, if you have any ideas, hit me up, let me know what they are, and I'll gladly talk about them, okay? Now, let me go ahead and say this about writing first off. It's an important part of communication, okay? If you can't write, you can't talk. If you can't talk, you can't write. Good writing skills allow you to communicate your message with clarity and ease to a far larger audience than through face-to-face or telephone conversations, okay? This is what makes it entirely possible. Hell, without writing, I wouldn't be able to write up the stuff that I talked to you guys about in the first place, okay? I got to do what I got to do, but I got to first be able to write, too, so we'll see how this works its way out, okay? Just let's go off of this scenario. Like I said before, the whole point of this podcast is to stop and think and consider some stuff here. So let's stop and think about it for a second. You might be, let's say you're called upon to write a report, plan a strategy at work, write a grant application or a press release, okay, within a volunteering role. Okay, you may fancy communicating your ideas via a blog or something. And of course, a well-written CV or resume with no spelling or grammatical mistakes is essential if you want a new job in the first place, okay? Today, when anyone can be their own publisher, you can self-publish anything you want. You know, we see more and more examples of poor writing skills, both in print and on the web. You know, poor writing skills creates poor first impressions, and many readers will, they'll have an immediate negative reaction if they spot spelling or grammatical mistakes out the wazoo. Now, it's one thing if you're intending it, but it's not, if it's not intentional. Like, say you're writing a book or something, then it's just plain weird. You know, as just one example, a spelling mistake on a commercial web page may cause potential customers to doubt the credibility of the website and the organization. For many of us, it will have been a long time since we were taught any writing skills, and a refresher may be needed. So this section here that I'm covering, is a good way to get yourself back into the line right of writing and doing what you have to do. From punctuation, from grammar, spelling, and so on. I'll cover each and every one of them. Give me a short second here, and we'll go into the next piece. And we're back. All right. So, like I said, I'm going to cover grammar, spelling, and punctuation a little bit here and there. If you'd like to hear a little bit more about each, like I said, I'll cover those, and also how to write a report, to-do list, business cards, resumes, so on and so forth, or how to have an effective LinkedIn profile if you need that. Okay. Correct grammar, punctuation skills are key in writing communication. The reader will form an opinion of you, the author, based on the, both the content and the presentation, and errors are likely to lead them to form a negative impression. Okay, like I mentioned before. If you're convinced about the importance of accurate writing, think of the clues we use to identify spam emails, phishing, websites, counterfeit products, poor grammar, and spelling. Similarly, some employees state publicly that any CV or resume containing spelling or grammatical mistakes will be rejected immediately, whilst a BBC news article quotes research that calculates spelling mistakes cost online businesses millions in lost sales. They can't afford it. Checking for poor writing and spelling mistakes should be seen as a courtesy to your readers, since it can take them much longer to understand the messages in your writing if they have to think and reread the text to decipher it. Let me put it to you this way: unless you're trying to write in code, there's no reason anybody should have to decipher what you're trying to say. All writing communications should therefore be reread before sending to print, or hitting the send button in the email in case of emails, as it's likely that there will be errors. Do not assume that spelling and grammar checkers will identify all mistakes, as many incorrect words can indeed be spelled correctly. For example, when their, THEIR, is used instead of their, THERE, or principle instead of principle. Entire words may be misspelled, and if at all possible, take a break before rereading and checking your writing, as you are more likely to notice the problems when you read it fresh and you haven't looked at it for a while. And even if you know spelling and grammar rules, you should still double check your work, or even better, have it proofread by somebody else. Our brains work faster than our fingers can type, and accidentally typographical errors or typos inevitably do creep in, and they can cause a lot of problems. Let's move on with improving your writing skills. Okay? The good news is that writing is a skill which can be learned like any other. One trick for checking and improving your work is to read it out loud. Reading text forces you to slow down, and you may pick up problems with the flow that your eyes would not otherwise skip over or not see. Reading in general, another way to improve your writing skills is to read. As you read, you pick up new vocabulary, engage with different writing styles, and there are multiple different writing styles. And like I said before, if you'd like, I'll go over those as well, and how to effectively read. Yeah, that's actually a skill. There are a number of areas to bear in mind as you write, as well as grammar, spelling, and punctuation. It's important to remember your audience, okay, the people you're talking to. Always write with your audience in mind, and it can also help to bear in mind the medium in which you plan to publish. Like in my case, I use a podcast, okay? This knowledge will help you to decide whether you need to write in a formal style or a more informal one, and will also help you to decide on a suitable structure, if you will. Finally, however, have a look at multiple different web pages, papers, resumes, and so on and so on, for examples of what is more accepted for certain platform types and certain companies. However, and I'm going to go ahead and give this warning, okay? There's a time and a place for a lot of things, and cliches are one of them. They exist because they explain exactly what we want to say in easy to understand terms, but some people find them very annoying, and you need to use them with care. On that note, I'm going to cover this next, what is a cliche, in my next podcast. But for right now, just be wary of cliches. And when I cover them in more detail, you'll know what they are and how to avoid them if necessary. Next is writing under specific circumstances. There are many times in your life, when you will be asked to write something very specific, whether this is to take notes of a conversation, write the minutes of a formal meeting, or prepare a report. All these types of writing require specific skills and usually a particular style. Okay? First of which, writing at home. Many people would say that the art of letter writing is dying out. However, there are still many times when you need to put pen to paper or word processor to paper and write a letter. If you're not sure how to write a letter, I will do a podcast on how to write a letter later on. Okay? Aside from writing at home, there's also writing in the workplace. Being able to write well is a skill which will get you a long way in the workplace, partly because it is fairly rare in many places. Okay? One skill that many people lack, especially in management and other professional environments, is the ability to write in plain English. Yes, you heard me right. You have to be able to write in plain English. Okay? This also means avoiding unnecessary jargon, industrial specific buzzwords, again, cliches, and keeping sentences short and concise. Okay? Taking the time to polish your writing skills is likely to pay off in the longer term, and learning how to write specific types of documents will also be helpful and useful. Okay? Next is writing job applications. Yes, that's actually a thing, believe it or not. At one time or another, most of us need to write a job application. Nowadays, job applications usually require a CV or resume. And together, with a strong covering letter or a good LinkedIn profile will also help your application stand out for the rest, as will managing your online presence effectively. Keep this in mind if you're just writing for study, okay? You may, for example, need to write essays, a report, research proposal, or even a dissertation or thesis, and these pieces of work are often very, very long and need careful structuring and writing. Now, while I would love to cover all of these things in major level detail, uh, I know a little bit about each one, and I can go into depth into each one a little bit more. However, since I'm not actually an English major, that's not what I'm going to school for. Um, I'm not going to know too much about it, but I can cover them in the most basic detail possible that I know and from information that I gather. Because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I hate writing. I've never liked writing ever since I was younger. I do enjoy creative writing just for the sake of writing whatever's on my mind, whatever I feel like writing at that time. But I don't like turning in papers. I don't like writing essays. But thanks to having a loving, caring mom like I did, one who's really good in English and always points out every grammatical mistake, it's gotten to the point now where I can't not write something and just be naturally good at it, okay? So, I mean, let's put it this way. If you can't do this on your own and you need some assistance from somebody else, always seek additional help from a friend, coworker, family member, or so on, someone who's in that field to help you and, bump you up. Again, thank you for listening. This is Thoughts If It Were You, Food for Thought by Neogentrix, and this was Writing Skills. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, hit me up on Anchor, Facebook, or on Twitter, and enjoy the rest of your day.